current ISL is good for the remainder of this fiscal year up to June 30th. And what I'm recommending that you do is you consider passage of another 5 years that would run from fiscal year 27 to through fiscal year 32. So currently, again, because it's based on the regular program dollars, which has to do with enrollment, for fiscal year 25, the year that we just finished, the ISL generated $977,207 in FY25. 5% of that was income surtax, and that generated $569,421. And the way things are, it's calculated, or the way it's done, the income surtax for that total of $977,207. The income surtax is calculated first, and the amount of revenue that brings in, and then the rest then is assessed as a property tax. So of the current, fiscal year 25, the property tax amount was just about 60.5 cents per thousand of property tax, which generated the $407,786 to get to that total. So just short of $1 million in the general fund. So that's how the ISL is put together. What I will ask you to, or would have you consider when we go to new business, is the resolution, and it's in your packet as well. And I'll get down to the this part of the resolution here. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors determines that it's consistent with its 5-year finance plan to fund the ongoing programs and services of the district, and to provide additional funding, therefore, for a period of 5 years, commencing with the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027. The additional funding for the instructional program for a budget year will be determined annually. So again, when we certify the budget, when the board certifies the budget, you can determine, is it 5%, 8%, or is it a maximum of 10%? It will not exceed 10% of the total regular program district costs. Monies received by the district for the instructional support program may be used for any general fund purpose, and the instructional support program shall be funded by instructional support state aid, which they don't give you any state aid for that, they have for a long time, but with a combination then of instructional support property tax levied annually upon the taxable property within the district, and an instructional support income surtax imposed annually on the percent of income to be determined by the board for each budget year. So you can decide at what percent do you want that income surtax to be. Is it 5%, 7%? You get to determine that as a board when you certify the budget. And I think that's all I had. The rest of that is just the resolution, which has been, the resolution was put together by our legal counsel for tonight's meeting.
Does the board have any questions on the instructional support program? Is there any questions from the public on the instructional support program? All right, that concludes the public hearing. Next, we have citizen comments.
Yes. Crystal, did you want to address?
Yeah, I want to add a couple things.
Sure.
Want me to stand up?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Yep.
My name is Crystal Bridger. We open enrolled our child, Caden Heilman, due to academic. We felt like that he needed a smaller classroom size. His needs just weren't getting met. We do have another child that will stay in Mount Pleasant. he's excelling, he's doing fine. Caden's not. In doing that, we later found out that he would not be able to participate in varsity sports. Education is what's important to us, but to Caden, who's involved in everything, that's important to him. And I don't know that the school we're going to has a JV varsity situation, so it may be to the situation where I don't know if he'll be able to participate at all. And it goes to, I think, January, middle of January.
Yes, 90 days.
I just feel like him cohesively going to this other school district includes the academics as well as the sports, and taking that away from him is not going to be as seamless as we want it to be. We didn't know about this, and I know where the rule comes from, or the code. Like, I understand it. I've seen it in our schools. I've seen kids get recruited, and I know it's a problem. But I don't think my kid falls into that. Like, he's not a starter athlete. He just likes to be involved in everything. So I'm just fighting for my kid, just to give him the best chance transferring over. So I just want to add just that on top of the letter that you guys all got from me. To just really think about it, because I think this could just really make a big difference when we do make that change. That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes, claims, and financial reports.
Okay, and the financial reports, or the financial report, we won't have a financial report as we're closing out fiscal year 25. The claims are on were on the website. I didn't have anything in particular to point out in the claims. Unless you guys have questions, we can certainly answer questions.
Anybody have any questions? Motion to approve minutes and claims and no financial report.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Lentz.
Yes.
Mullen.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Overberg.
Yes.
Hampton.
Yes.
Maher.
Yes.
Husinger.
Yes. We're on to reports. Superintendent report, please.
Okay, just a few things in the superintendent's report. I wanted to just chat a little, or just share with you a little bit. Open teaching positions. We are the only open position that we have vacant right now is the Wisdom Quest teaching position, which we've been Tyler and I have been meeting, talking about what some of the possibilities might be there. So we continue to look to fill that position one way or another, whether it's with hiring a regular teacher, or if it's a long-term substitute position for the semester or for the year. We're continuing to work on getting that position filled. By the way, Diana is here. Maybe Diana, she wants to.
Tyler just asked me, and I thought about it for a nanosecond. I don't want to work every day.
Diana has done such great work working with our Wisdom Quest kids, helping them to meet that Algebra 2 requirement. So thanks for thinking about it for a nanosecond. So all of our other positions are filled. You maybe saw in personnel, we did have one request to be released from a contract, and that is still under consideration if we can find suitable replacement for that position. So number 2, legislative priorities. That was just an FYI that the School Board Association will share with the superintendents their potential legislative priorities and agenda for the upcoming session. We'll discuss those at our committee meeting, our policy committee meeting in August, and then have recommendations for you at the August meeting. Speaking of the August meeting, I wanted to just get your thoughts. The committee meeting schedule, August 1, which is the first Friday in August, is August 1, or August 1 is the first Friday. Normally that would be our finance committee meeting at noon. That's actually the Friday, the end of Dead Week. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on, do we move that to the following Friday? Because the board meeting isn't until, it's not the next Monday, but it's the following Monday.
I would think that we could have it on the day after policy and site committee, so have it on the 8th instead of the 1st and 2nd.
I'm available either.
Mike, are you good with the 8th?
I'll make it work. Normally I work the state fair all 12 days, but I can get with these.
Yes, let's go ahead and move it to the 8th. So committee meetings would be on the 7th and 8th.
Okay. All right. We'll make that change. Number 4, fiscal year education support personnel funding amounts. One of the last things, or it seemed like one of the last things that the legislature did was approve the $14 million as they had the previous year for support personnel, education support personnel. So I was just going to share with you that amount for Mount Pleasant, and you have that in your packet. I'll scroll here to Mount Pleasant. So it was based on certified enrollment. The amount that we will receive this year is $51,177. Now, what we did with that last year was we made that a bonus incentive for people that stayed with us, that had been on contract the previous year. And again, this is support personnel, so this would be any of the non-licensed staff, and we made sure that went to everyone, from paraeducators to food service workers. It was based on your hourly amount and based on the based on the number of hours that you work in a week. And so I think we would look to do something very similar with that funding. It was it was anywhere from $200 to $400 based on your hourly rate and the amount of hours that you work in a week. So
Is this total sum similar to what we received last year?
yeah, yep. It was right at about $52,000 last year. Yes. Okay, number 5. I wanted to follow up because there was a couple of questions that folks had. I think it was at our last meeting. One of the questions that came up was how many languages are spoken in our school district. So I just, Michelle Dickey was good enough to share with me the presentation that the ELL team had made. So I think there's 9. I think I saw 9 different languages as you go through the 9 distinct different languages as you go through the different levels there. So, and then the number of students that are at each level. So I wanted to share that with you and follow up on that. The other thing that I wanted another question that was asked at one of our last meetings was the certified mail attendance letter for those who were chronically absent. And we had about 140 certified letters. So it was last year, before postage went up, last year they were about $5 a piece. And so that is no longer a part of the communication plan with families. It does not have to be sent certified. So that was changed in legislation as well. Oh, you have that, and we have a stack of them right here that were never received. So it's good. It's good that they took that out of the code language. Number 7, Live After 5. Thank you for those that, I don't know why my mind was thinking October 5, because that's a Sunday. But a Live After 5, we're going to host a Live After 5 at the RTM on October 1, Wednesday, October 1. So put that in your calendars. We're super excited to be able to show off that facility We're getting moved in. Things are slowly moving in over there. We'll have another meeting real soon because we developed in our last walkthrough. We developed a punch list of things that still needed done. Yeah, we're really excited about hosting that with the chamber. And yeah.
I would really encourage if we let our staff know that they are, we'd like for them to attend.
Absolutely.
Because I think sometimes as chamber members, people down don't realize
Yeah.
they can attend.
Yeah.
So I would really encourage that we have our bus drivers, our
Absolutely.
main people and staff.
Yep, I will definitely, I always remind them of that at our opening meeting, but as our hosting gets closer, I'll definitely remind them to come out and take a look at the new facility. And then the last one in the superintendent's report is the number 8, IASB, the Ready, Set, Govern professional development. They'll do that in January because we do have a board election in November, and so new members, new or old members can definitely attend, and we'll be hosting that again. And I know they enjoy coming to Mount Pleasant, so we'll do that right here in the High School Media Center on January 14th. So you might want to put that in your calendar as well. So, and that's the superintendent's report.
Any other questions? No board committee reports. We didn't have committee meetings in July, but we will have them back in August. Any other board communication that the board would like to share? On to consent items. We have personnel and open enrollment. Any questions? We can take those all as one or separate items.
Make a motion to approve altogether?
I'll second. Jessica, roll call?
Lenz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Overberg,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinka.
Yes.
We have no unfinished business, so we will move on to new business. And our first item is resolution to consider the continued participation in the instructional support program. We've been through the documents. Does anybody want to read through them again? Otherwise, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Lenz,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Overberg,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinka.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration to waive open enrollment out transfer student eligibility period.
So you've got the letter from Crystal in your packet. We have not approved these. I think the code language talks about, not unusual circumstances, but I think the circumstances that are.
Just cause.
Yeah, just cause, uncommon circumstances. With all due respect, I definitely hear what Crystal is saying, and the reason that they're doing that. My superintendent recommendation would be to not waive the ineligibility period as we have been consistent.
Is there a motion?
These are obviously difficult situations, and I appreciate you coming and sharing your bit of it and the letter. You lay out a very compelling case, and we sit up here and say that we want to do everything to help the students with every avenue and every interest that they have. And when the state kind of tells us the guidelines of what should be accepted, what shouldn't, and provide, a specific list of reasons that you might waive it, even though we have the power to go outside of those, and sticking with consistency and abiding by our code. So regrettably, we make a motion to deny.
Is there a second?
I would second.
Roll call.
Lent,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Sorry, I just want clarification. We're saying yes to the motion to deny, correct?
Correct.
Not to approve. Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
Overberg,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
No.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration to approve the 28E agreement with the New London Community School District for the home assistance program.
Okay, and I did include that in your packet. At our last meeting, you approved the conflict of interest waiver because our council, we use the same council, New London District and Mount Pleasant use the same council. So this was put together then after that waiver by our attorney. Again, what it does is gives access to New London Community School District students and families, gives them access to our homeschool assistance program through the 28E. Would recommend you approve.
Any questions on the 28E agreement? Otherwise, motion to approve the 28E agreement?
So moved.
Second?
Sorry, just one question. We don't know quite yet how many will participate in this. I know you said last time roughly one.
Yeah, I think when Lynn presented to us, it was a family or two.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Lent,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Overberg,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinga.
Yes.
Next, we have consideration to approve the first reading of Board Policy Series 200, the Board of Education.
Okay, and so as I mentioned to you, there are a lot of policies in the 200 series. The 200 series deals with the Board of Education. And so, again, I've said it many times, this is an effort to align our policies with the School Board Association's reference manual. So what I'm recommending that you do is, on a first reading, delete or discard Mount Pleasant Community School District's current 200 series and adopt the following reference manual policies. Now, I have gone through all of these policies, sent them to you. If you have questions, we could absolutely pull one of these policies up and take a look. Short of going through each one of them here tonight, I have done that. And these are all right from the reference manual, the reference manual, policies from the reference manual. Unless you have questions, I would recommend that you approve.
Quick question. I know that we have mentioned as part of our master planning process that there might be a revision to our mission, vision, and values. This would fall under this section of policy, I assume, under the statement of guiding principles, I believe. Are these able to be revised kind of at any time, or do you have to wait until, because I doubt it'll be ready by the time we do our second reading, but it can be brought up and revised at any time?
Yeah, any policy can be
Oh.
added or changed whenever that legal change or some other change needed to be made.
Now, let me refresh my memory here, because didn't we add our mission and vision in the 100 series?
It was already in the 100 series. We had it in the 100 series, but for IA, in the reference manual, it was not, so it was then, it corresponded with the 200.
Okay, so let me check on that, because I was thinking that the actual language for our mission and vision wasn't in the 100, but we wanted to make sure that it was. But I'll check. Let me check. This is a first reading. Let me check on that. If we want it, we want it in board policy. If it fits best here, let me take a look and we can get it here. I was thinking it's in the 100 series, but I'll check.
And I think that probably is also an appropriate location for it. I don't know what it states about our ability to put it, mention it in multiple areas, but
Sure.
as kind of the, single most important statement in our district, it wouldn't be a bad thing for it to appear a couple of times.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there was some repetition in it, and we started that conversation in the 100 series because it wasn't, the new proposed 100 series didn't exactly follow what
And I thought we added it in to the 100 series, but as I was reading through this 200, it was almost like a duplication, but not exact. So, right, I went through the 200 revisions, and I'm in favor of them as they stand after we check that out to make sure, because I really want to make sure that stays in our policy. We had a lot of these move around, because we're updating with the reference manual, so we don't get confused on our policies one number, the reference manual is another. But a lot of the language stayed the same. I mean, since this one directly relates to us as a board, this is the one I look through the majority of, and I'm in favor of how it is right now.
I will definitely check on that.
I don't have any questions on it other than, number 203, conflict of interest.
Okay.
It's not the wording of the policy, that's fine, but do we sign a statement every year and profess that we have any conflict of interest? Because I'm on several boards here in town that we do, at every annual meeting, we sign a conflict of interest statement and make it known if we have such.
It would be a great practice, but not currently has anything like that been done
Or
historically.
just our CPA firms and both these other organizations recommend that we do that, so I just.
I can follow up on that as well to see if
I have an example of what it is we sign.
yeah.
For one example would be, a former board member owns the building that we pay rent to, that would be something that he would declare, so it's upfront and on record. So it's probably a good idea to do it.
Any other discussion on the 200 series? Is there a motion to approve the first reading?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Lynn,
Yes.
Mullen,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Overberg,
Yes.
Hampton,
Yes.
Maher,
Yes.
Husinka.
Yes.
Our next item is a discussion item, the results of our staff spring survey.
Yeah. So, you have that in your packet as well. In, late May, the early part of June, the Donovan Group helped us with an employee survey, asking just a handful of questions regarding, facilities and, a question, regarding the transition to Great Light buildings. I went over the survey with the board president and vice president, and at your recommendation, thought we would just take a look at the results of the survey and then allow our elementary principals, mostly as it relates to the Great Lake transition and moving into our second year of that transition. Let them, at our August meeting, speak a bit about going through 1 year, and these are some of the changes that they're making for the second year. So I'll just stop me at any time if you have those. I'm gonna
month and having this information and then being able to form questions that really that admin are gonna be the ones that if we have specific questions, that's probably going to be best answered by them. So we'll have more of that conversation following this, but this gives us the first information we asked for. Then we'll be able to have some more conversation and maybe some of the questions that we have from this data can be answered with some of the plans and changes that they're making for the next school year.
So again, survey was open from May 23rd through June 3rd. I won't go on through methodology. The survey results, total of 118 respondents completed the survey. Now, I can't say if they were, if it was all teachers, I'm sure a majority of it was. We have about 160 teachers that we employ in the district, so pretty good number, 118 respondents on the survey. It does show in what building, the way you read the survey, in what building you primarily work. And see those results. And then it actually gives you as well the count from each building. Make it as big as I can. Totaling up to 118. So I guess, yeah, here you can see 33% of the respondents were, almost 34% were elementary teachers, 12% middle school, over 20% high school, special education support staff. And then again, it gives you the actual numbers of respondents. The first question, thinking about the building you work in on a scale from 1 to 10, how well equipped is the building in supporting 21st century learning? A score of 1 means it's not equipped at all, while a score of 10 means it's fully equipped for 21st century learning. So the obviously a score of 10 down here, it's, I guess worst to best is the way you might look at it. Let's see the respondents there.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
With this right here, it gives us an overall weighted score that's 6, which I think is pretty good. If it was below 5, we wouldn't be meeting the needs of our teachers. But obviously there's still some needs to be met. From this survey though, we don't know which building we're talking about. So would the dominant group be able to break that up by the respondents by building and give us that before the August board meeting?
Let me check.
To know if it's a building, a grade level, where can we focus on?
Derek mentioned the weighted score there, 6.1, right? So then what they did, like they did in our first survey that we used them on, the analysis of question 3, respondents were asked to rate how well equipped their building is in supporting 21st century learning. That's the analysis. They've got a summary here. Approximately 100 comments were provided, with the majority falling into the following themes. One theme was space. Comments consistently highlighted a lack of classrooms that are appropriately sized. Many are forced to share small rooms, use hallways, or have no dedicated space for storage. There's also lack of flexible space. This hinders collaborative learning, small group instruction, and differentiated learning. Now, those comments, just the way that they were written, would tell me that those are elementary teacher comments, I would say, when you're talking about small group instruction and differentiated learning. Technology, numerous comments points to issues with internet connectivity, outdated equipment, insufficient electrical outlets, insufficient number. Teachers also expressed concerns about outdated or malfunctioning digital tools, while some lack access to tools altogether. The learning environment, several comments highlight physical aspects of classrooms, inconsistent lighting, acoustics, furniture, climate control that negatively impact the learning environment. And infrastructure would be the last one. It includes insufficient staff, student restrooms, accessibility issues, and security system concerns.
With the technology, would you agree with what those statements were saying?
For the most part, there's room for improvement.
A lot of room for improvement, or?
It's hard to know, but I think I've got some ideas guessing on where the
I
pain
assume
points
it's
are.
building, like sites.
Yeah.
Some sites are better than others.
Correct.
But can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so the network itself is an old aerial fiber cable that connects all the schools together. And so if one building goes down, say it loses power, something of that nature, it takes the rest of the network down with it. So I've already engaged in building out new fiber connections that would not have that issue. So if any one building, let's say, we lose power to Lincoln, Van Allen's not going to go down with it, or the other buildings. So there's some infrastructure planning now to build upon that, if that is, what they're.
Is Salem in the same boat as Mount Pleasant?
Salem's a little different. It's a lease line. It's through Windstream. We pay for fiber that connects from the high school to Salem.
But if power goes out here, Salem's not.
Yeah. So our I would say our two biggest hubs are the high school and Lincoln Elementary currently. So if any of those two go down, then that causes major disruptions.
Does that happen very frequently?
Not very frequently, no. This year, I know there was at least 3 times where the utility company lost power to various phases, and that brought buildings down. So yeah,
During the school day?
During the school day, yes.
Something a generator could fix?
Yes and no. It's going to keep some of the core major things running, but you're not going to keep every possible thing.
Now I'm going to speak out of my element here a little bit, but we have been discussing, as Brandon mentioned, the building out of our own network with a fiber company who is building out all around town. And so Brandon's been in discussion with them about building a network that would hopefully eliminate those issues and isolate connectivity for each building. Okay, question 5. Describe any benefits you experienced working in grade life buildings with your grade life colleagues. So a lot of, I mean, it's good. There's a lot, these are pretty open-ended questions, so it's you know, a lot of opportunity for comments. So nearly 70 comments were provided, with the majority following the following themes. And these are benefits in the grade life transition. One was collaboration. Respondents consistently highlighted how the configuration facilitates real-time conversations about curriculum, student needs, and instruction. This enables more responsive teaching adjustments, the sharing of resources, brainstorming of solutions, and debriefing on situations that arise. Another positive was student support. Respondents report being able to identify and address students' needs more effectively through coordinated intervention efforts, flexible grouping arrangements, shared data analysis. Additionally, teachers can easily share students between classrooms for targeted support and collaborate on behavioral strategies. And the other theme in the positives was curriculum consistency. Educators appreciate the ability to maintain aligned instruction across all classrooms within a grade level, as well as ensuring curriculum pacing. So those were some of the positives. I know that our, and Dr. Butler, you may want to comment on this. I know that our elementary principals will comment about these particular areas. We even were able to see, with regard to curriculum consistencies, when we did our instructional rounds, you could definitely see consistency in curriculum and pacing as we went to the different buildings.
Absolutely. That's been the biggest win that we've seen already, is being able to align the work that we're doing, the conversations they're having, our student development. So it's exciting to hear that.
And then the next question was challenges regarding the same thing. What are the challenges you've experienced working in grade life buildings with your grade level colleagues? Approximately 60 comments were provided, and they fell into the following themes. Again, collaboration. Many reported that the promised increase in collaboration time did not materialize due to scheduling challenges. And I'm sure there were many different things, and one of the things that we found out was, you know, if we had a weather-related delay, or just a disruption in our schedule due to weather, that hindered collaboration. Shared staff and their schedules, as well as schedules for specials and interventions, limit the flexibility of the master schedule for more collaborative time. The principals are going to be able to speak to this way more coherently than me, but were able to put together a master schedule for this coming school year that really increases the opportunity for collaboration, and it really, we're really excited. And Dr. Butler, maybe you could comment on that as well. We're very excited about the master schedule for this next year.
Yeah, it's going to provide opportunities for grade level teachers to come together. I believe it's daily.
Daily.
Yeah, it's daily, 3 times every day. In addition to their Friday, so they'll have their Friday time, and then they'll have time throughout the week daily to also collaborate, which is huge. It's consistent. I've also worked to give them additional Fridays. I've given them as many Fridays as possible. And then at the elementary level, they're also having quarterly building level PD time. So we're trying to find as much time as possible at the elementary level to provide professional development, to get on the same page, to make sure we're all working in the same way. So I think that the teachers will be excited they have that time to collaborate.
Okay. Continuing on here, these were concerns. One was student behaviors. The concern was the concentration of students with behavior issues and IEPs in one building. Teachers noted a lack of sufficient staff support, be it substitutes, paraeducators to assist. The absence of older students as role models was also highlighted as a contributing factor. And then school culture. Some believe that the grade-alike model has adversely impacted school culture and relationships. Teachers express difficulty forming and maintaining relationships with younger and past students due to the grade level separation. Families also face inconveniences with multiple drop-offs and pickups. And so I think, again, our principals will be able to speak to those challenges and talk about ways that they're addressing those challenges when we have them in August. Again, the final question, question 7. Share any other information the district should know about improving the learning environment for Mount Pleasant students in the future. So very open-ended on that one. 85 comments were provided. The majority fell into the following themes. Student behaviors. Respondents emphasized the urgent need for consistent district-wide behavioral policies. Many noted that current inconsistencies in discipline undermine classroom environments and teaching authority. There were also calls for full-time building administrators. Infrastructure. Respondents highlighted deficiencies across all buildings. Examples included outdated or inadequate buildings, insufficient classroom space, poor lighting, and the need for updated furniture and bathrooms. And then the last thing that was mentioned was staffing. Comments cite the challenges created by shared personnel across multiple buildings. Respondents expressed frustration with specialists stretched across locations, inadequate paraprofessional support, and the financial impact of maintaining multiple small facilities. So those were the results of our staff survey. They're at the end of the school year. Again, looking forward to our principals in August being able to answer any questions that you have and talk specifically about what they learned in the transition to the grade-alike and some of the changes that they've made for the next school year.
I was only going to comment that the other thing I think in addition to grade-alike, we have to remember that we had 2 brand new administrators as well. That also takes a learning curve. So in addition to a second year of grade-alike, we have a second year of an elementary admin team that can continue to work together. I know they've spent a lot of time together, but I think that's still coming together. And as they have a year under their belt, I feel like we had a really good conversation with them at the committee meeting when we talked about the handbooks and we talked about behaviors. And I know that they talked about opportunities and changes, and so I know that they're aware, and I think that another year will also provide maybe some continuity and stability. That is the goal, right? I mean, we had that conversation with them.
And I think this is invaluable data. I mean, this is, aside from test scores, really the only barometer that we have of is the district's needs being met. You know, this is the frontline information of reporting back to us on day-to-day operations. So I think everything in here is usable, very valuable. I saw, very familiar themes that we've, already been talking about. A lot of facility issues being brought up within these, not only concerns, but benefits as well. Aside from working on the master schedule and I know that you said that the principals will report on this, so maybe you'll answer my question then, but, is there other things being done to improve upon some of this in the summertime? I know that before we know it, school's going to start, it makes it hard to, correct some of these things. So is there anything that we could be doing other than preparing to meet with the principals in August? I just want to take full advantage of our time between now and start of school without overworking everybody on their much deserved break. But I just want to make sure that we're hitting the ground running come school time and not behind the eight ball.
Yeah, I'm gonna, let me comment, and then again, ask Dr. Butler to comment. I am gonna go back to the master schedule, because when we made, we tried to create a special schedule that works for the classroom teachers. And I think that's, I'm not gonna say that it didn't work before, but we started with specials, which made it difficult. It made it more difficult to address some of those, I'll just say the regular classroom needs. I say we, it really was the principals who built the schedule, and then Dr. Butler and I came in on the back end and, you know, threw some questions back at them. But I think we have a master schedule that is with the regular classroom as first in line. Now, I'm definitely not diminishing the role or the need of specials. You know, I was a specials teacher, so it's important to me. But I think with first priority as that regular classroom, I think we have a schedule that's going to really bolster what we do in the regular classroom, and then obviously give kids what they need with art, music, PE, technology, all of that as well. Dr. Butler?
Yeah, I kind of want to build off of that. I don't have a mic, I don't know if it matters. With the special schedule, there's a couple of things that are new. One of them would be that one of the specials is going to be a tech STEM, and so we're going to add some more tech STEM that we haven't had before. And the other one's going to be is guidance counselors are going to lead some lessons from our second step, which is our social emotional curriculum, and we're going to directly tie them to the Portrait of the Panther. And so that's really going to help with our behaviors. Instead of responding after the behaviors, we're going to be much more proactive about before the behaviors happen. Let's talk about what it looks like to me, what it looks like to show those competencies that we've identified for Portrait of the Panther. So I'm excited about that. Also in the planning, we've looking at class lists, we've been very, very thoughtful about which students we put in which class and how we're balancing out the classes to make sure that we've got, very thoughtful about our classes and which students are where and how we're sorting those out. So there's absolutely a lot of work happening in the summer, even though we do have people that are off in the summer, people that are working to make sure that we're starting off in a positive way.
Who's going to be teaching that tech STEM specials?
That's what we're going to work together to put together the curriculum for that, and then we've got a paraprofessional that's going to supervise that, so it's going to be a collaborative effort.
How will you know what success looks like with the new schedule? Like, will you know in week 2? How many weeks will it take to know if it's doing what it's brand new, right? So there is the possibility that it won't work exactly how you envision it. So is there a 2-week reflection? Like, what is the timeline that you'll be assessing that?
I'm as someone who has built schedules, not elementary schedules, but it does, every time you build a schedule and you put it into play, you have to tweak it. So, I mean, how would we know? I think you could come back.
They'll let us know.
Yeah, exactly.
Will it be week 1? Will you get through the first week?
I would say give it a couple of weeks so the bugs out, and then how's it
I think it's
going?
gonna have to be more than a couple weeks because,
I would agree.
because little threshers,
At least.
probably a good month, and then we'll know,
Yeah.
this is gonna work, or no, it's not.
That's right.
But that's how you find out, tweak it and move on.
So that's one of our core development things is follow up and checking in. So as we want to be mindful of not to ask the first weekend, how's it going? We want to give you the time and space to make it work, but we don't want to forget about it. So we want to put it on our calendars that at the beginning of October, maybe our October board meeting, we have a check-in on, tell us how the new special schedule is going, how the new master schedule is going, so then we can ask appropriate feedback, not ask for it when you're.
Things look and sound great June and July, and then people come back and say. So, yeah, definitely.
So right now, tentatively, we'll put it on our October schedule to have a check-in on how the new master schedule is working. Anything else in reference to the survey?
And hopefully we can do something similar with, you know, the entire results of this, not just the master schedule, you know. I don't know who it's going to be, but hopefully we can develop a way to measure improvement upon what's suggested in this. Because it's only part of the puzzle to conduct a survey and to go over the results, and now we need to show that we're doing everything we can to improve upon what is suggested. So it's hard to quantify this data as far as improvement, but hopefully we can figure out a way to check back in on some of the stuff in addition to the master schedule.
Is the survey something we can start doing every semester or at least once a year? Just kind of as a check-in? Or see what needs to tweak at that point? Because Don and the group developed it, so would we have to continue with it or just start making our
I don't know. I'm not an expert on survey fatigue, you know, if you continue to get, accurate information, if you do it that often, I can certainly ask that question.
I would think at the end of every year it might not hurt to just have it expected, yeah. And I think there are other tools that we use that we don't have to pay $3,000 a month for as well. Just some free data collection survey sites out there. But along those lines, what did we agree to with the duration of the dominant group? Do we have an end date with them? Are they still providing us really great?
Yes, we have, this was part, when we shifted, after the community survey, we shifted to more of an education, campaign, to educate our community. This was part of that, to gather some information from internally. Some other things that you perhaps have seen, the fact sheet, a few weeks ago. The first video dropped a couple of weeks ago. And we have a list of, or a compilation of videos that will drop. In fact, we're going to drop another one this week. So, yeah. So we have, as we continue with that roadmap. Of course, if we feel like it's not beneficial, we can certainly break that contract.
All right, anything else on that topic?
With that, of dropping the videos, would it be right to give us a heads up to preview it before it hits instead of being, because the last one was dropped and I'm getting emails about what's going on, I have no idea.
Yep.
I mean, they show up and then I'm dumbfounded on how to answer.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking for when the next, you'd like to be notified before the next, okay?
All right, on to elementary section sizes. So we kind of started this conversation at our work session, and we'll continue to dive into it.
Yeah, so I want to go over some, just some data with you. We looked into this a little bit. What does the research say? But I want to start with some of the data that I provided last 2 weeks ago on June 30th, when we looked at projected enrollment numbers, and it just continues something Mike said. We need to keep this out there. We need to get it out there. We need to keep it out there. So I want to start with This is just a reminder, look at this one more time, or again, not one more time, but again. This is actual enrollments versus enrollment projections. This is certified enrollment. So this is enrollment count on October 1, the number of students that you get funding for. This is not served enrollment. This is certified enrollment. Certified drives the funding, okay? So again, you can see if you go back to projection in 2016-17, the actual enrollment was 1,970. And the pattern that you see is a projection like in 17-18 of 1,953, and the actual certified was 1,933. So I won't go through each one of those years. We did that last time we were together. In 24-25, the year that we just finished, we had a certified enrollment projection of 1,709. And we certified in October, 1,757. So we did have an increase of between 20 and 30 students from the previous year. So the projections, as they go forward for 25-26, and not to get too deep into the explanation again, but what they do is they take birth rates. They take the birth rates and number of kids then who would be 5 years old and would be entering kindergarten when they're 5. And they also take the number of students who were in a previous grade level, the percentage of those kids who are common kids who make the jump to the next grade level. And then they apply that percentage as they go along to each grade level. So obviously, with any kind of projection, the further you get out, the less accurate it's going to be. But I do want you to, we do need to pay attention to the projections here based on those factors. The projection for 25-26 is 1,702. I hope it's not that. I hope it's higher than that. But it does project out. This is from the DE, the Bureau of Analytics from the Department of Education, projecting out enrollments out 5 years to the school year 29-30, and a total certified enrollment of 1,523. So we've got to be mindful as we plan of what the enrollment projections are. So I wanted to look at that. Also wanted to look at this. This is served enrollment. And I don't know how well the audience can see that, but I'm starting here in fiscal year 15. So that would be the 2014-15 would be fiscal year 15. You can see the served enrollment. Served enrollment are the number of kids in our classrooms. The kids that we are serving is the served enrollment. So in 14-15, we were just over 2,000, 2021, and you can see the how it's gone from there. We've had a bump a time or two, but mostly the line would be a decrease in enrollment. So 1,713 was the served enrollment for fiscal year 25. Okay? We need to keep that in mind as we consider grade level enrollments, facilities, all of it. Okay? The other thing that I wanted to mention on here, because it's kind of like, what's the best way to think about all of this? And I'm going to show you in a one of the slides coming up here, I'm going to show you what our historical grade level enrollments have been at our elementary grades, kindergarten through 5th. But just as a hypothetical, as a large class, I would say a large class for us over the last 10 years, a large class is going to be a class of 140 students. Served enrollment of 140 students in a class. That's going to be large. So if you take 140 times 13 grade levels, you get 1,820 served students. And then if you add 50 preschool students, you come up with a total of 1,870. And the only reason I did that is for you to compare 1,870 and just to see where that lands here in served enrollment over the years. And that's with a class of 100. That's a large class at all 13 grade levels. So it's that the likelihood of that happening is not very high. Of having classes at 140 or larger is not, the likelihood of that is not very high. So I just wanted to do that and show you, kind of where that would fall in our served enrollment over the last number of years. Okay, so the next thing that you had asked for, and I want to hit the highlights here, is what research says about ideal elementary class sizes. I don't know if you know what you noticed as you read through this. One of the things, there are several things that I think are pretty obvious, but one of the things that I noticed was there's not a lot of new data in this. There's not a lot of new studies that have been done regarding the ideal elementary classroom size. So I'm not going to go through each one of these, the summary of the research or of the projects, but I will. The findings, were highlighted for small classes in early grades. Small classes in early grades significantly improved academic achievement, especially for minority and low-income students. That was the summary of this Project STAR that was done in Tennessee. Randomized study conducted from 1985 to 1989. It's a long time ago, but it's a lot of students. Especially from academic achievement, especially for minority and low-income students. Well, keeping in mind, this last year we had 8.6% of our students were English language learners, not just minorities, but English language learners. And then we're right at or above 50% in our free and reduced lunch population. So we need to keep those things in mind. And then long-term benefits included higher graduation rates and college attendance from that study. A follow-up of that study for the STAR participants as those kids went into high school showed continued academic and social benefits from early exposure to small classes. Dr. Butler, jump in anytime if you have anything that you want to add. Long-term gains confirmed in early exposure. Students in small K-2 classes were more likely to graduate high school and attend college. Again, just graduation rate is something that we need to focus on here in Mount Pleasant. We're making some improvements. We need to make more improvements in our graduation rate if that research is accurate. Benefits extended to behavioral outcomes and earnings in adulthood. Going on to other research, meta-analysis of class size in early elementary. The findings, The most beneficial class sizes for K2 falls between 13 and 17 students. Gains are especially strong in literacy and numeracy. Students receive more individualized attention and feedback. This particular study, the Wisconsin SAGE, Student Achievement Guarantee in Education, the program required schools to reduce K-3 class sizes to 15 to 1 in their low-income schools. The findings were that there were significant gains in reading and math, particularly for the African American students, and gains occurred as early as kindergarten and continued through 3rd grade. And then, back to that question, what's the, for lack of a better term, what's the most bang for the buck, what class size is gonna, produce the greatest gains? So some research shows the threshold and instructional quality considerations. Research shows benefits plateau beyond a certain point. For example, reducing from 25 to 20 may help, but the biggest jump is from 22 to 18 or fewer. Effective small class size implementation in K2 includes differentiated instruction, which is very important to us, active formative feedback, again, very important to us, and then maximize student talk time. You're not competing against a bunch of other students. Effectiveness in grades 4 and 5 and beyond. The summary on that study was, while small class sizes are most impactful in K-3, benefits may continue in later grades, especially for struggling learners, though the gains are less dramatic. Threshold effects, class sizes less than 20. The summary of that research suggests class size reductions below 20 are where measurable gains begin. Reductions from 30 to 25 do not yield as significant results. Unfortunately, we don't have class sizes quite that large. This is something that I think we've talked about, we've known that implementation matters. The effectiveness of class size reduction depends on how teachers utilize smaller groups for differentiated and high quality instruction. We've known that. That's conversation that is over the years. What that reminds me of is the traditional scheduling versus block scheduling. And what the research said was it really didn't matter. It's how effectively you use the time that you have, how effectively the teacher uses the time that they have in the classroom. This is interesting, cost effectiveness. While effective, class size reduction is costly. Some economists argue improving teacher quality, focusing on teacher quality, yields better returns for the same investment. And then finally, as a summary, ideal K2 class sizes. Sizes from 13 to 17 have the highest impact, strong gains in literacy, math, and behavior. 18 to 20 students is moderate benefit, still preferable to the 22 plus, and it's more manageable for differentiation, and I'm sure for other reasons as well. 21 plus were diminished returns, less individual attention, harder to tailor instruction. So that's the research that we were able to come up with. There's probably other research out there. I think intuitively, we know a lot of that makes sense. If you're working with fewer students and the ability to give individual attention increases, the ability to differentiate increases. The quality of instructor is critical. I have a bit more to share. Any thoughts or comments on the research itself? Dr. Butler, any thoughts?
It's a lot better than career.
So I'll make this bigger for everybody. I wanted to take a look at class sizes. So I went back to that same time period, 2014, 2015. This is served enrollment this is our elementary grade levels. So kindergarten, we had a class of, I'll just scroll through. I'm not going to hit on every one of these, but you can see the change in our class sizes over time. Obviously, it's consistent with the enrollment information that I had previously put up there. In 14-15, I would say, a kindergarten class size of 140 was small, moderate. Because in 15-16 we had 176, 164 in 16-17, 160, 17-18, and then we start to see a pretty significant decline in our kindergarten grade levels. And obviously, the way you could look at it this way and just go diagonally from one year to the next year to the next year to the next year. But those are what our class sizes have been over the last number of years. 21-22, we took a real dip in 22-23. Whether that's, I know there were things that were COVID related in those years, obviously. We went from 133 to a surge enrollment of 107 in kindergarten, 114 in 23-24, and 121 in 24-25. So you can look through that data at your convenience. So since 1819, and I did that because that's really where we saw the real change in numbers from 17-18 to 18-19. Our average kindergarten class size since 18-19, the last, I think that's 7 years, has been 125 students in kindergarten. So these are my thoughts based on this, my recommendations. However this moves forward, that average kindergarten class size of 18-19, and when we couple that with the research that we looked at, my recommendation, actually, Dr. Butler and I talked about this and what we could potentially see going forward as a recommendation to you. We would recommend 7 sections in grades K to 2, and I'll go through what that means numbers-wise here in just a bit. 7 sections in grades K to 2, 6 sections in grades 3 to 5. Again, based on that research, trying to get the most benefit academically, balancing that. I'm just say economically as well. 7 sections in grades K to 2, 6 sections in grades 3 to 5. At 1 or 2 elementary attendance centers for lowest possible class size reductions. So let's just take an example, take a look at an example, or a couple of examples here. If you take that average class size of 125 that we've had over the last 7 years, and you run 7 sections in grades K to 2, you're looking at between 17 and 18 students in grades K to 2 in 7 sections. And that same average class size of 125, you're looking at between 20 and 21 students in grades 3 to 5 through 6 sections, using 6 sections. That's the average class size. So what would that look like if you said, oh, you got a small class, we have a small class coming through. 110 students, based on some of these numbers over here. We got a small class coming through. 110 students. So those 110 students in K to 2, 7 sections, you're looking at 15, 16 students in a section for K to 2. And then that same class size is between 18 and 19 students in grades 3 to 5 in 6 sections. And then what if you had a large class? What if you had a big class come through? Large class of 140 students, be 20 students in grades K to 2 in 7 sections, and 23 to 24 students in grades 3 to 5 in 6 sections if you have a large class. I think one of the benefits of being grade alike, if let's say you had a huge spike, maybe you had a big time spike in numbers, being in grade alike it affords you the opportunity to add a section. If you need to add a section, is one of the advantages of doing that. So, Dr. Butler, any comments on the section numbers that you and I discussed?
I think we're in a good place with those numbers. I will bet from the low end and on the high end. Even on the high end, they're still very manageable numbers. Plenty of room for achievement there on either end.
So for this coming year, can you run down through the grades and section sizes that we've got planned?
I do, yeah, I do. I can. Let me see here. Yep. We just updated today, actually, so I can pull that up. Right where that was, Dr. Butler. These are predicted in kindergarten. We will have 6 sections of kindergarten in Mount Pleasant, 1 section of kindergarten in Salem for a total of 7, and it's a total of 106 students. First grade, we'll run 6 sections of first grade here in Mount Pleasant, 1 section in Salem, total of 125 students. Second grade, we'll run 5 sections in town of second grade, one section in Salem for a total of 118 students. Scroll. Third grade, we've got 5 sections in Mount Pleasant in third grade, 1 section in Salem, a total of 112 students. Fourth grade, 6 sections in Mount Pleasant, 1 section in Salem. That's our largest class of 144 students. And then finally, 5th grade, we'll run 6 sections here in Mount Pleasant at Van Allen, 1 section in Salem, and 136 students.
So why the deviation in second grade? If we're shooting for 7 sections total,
Well, this is you asked for the research on section sizes. This would be a recommendation going forward as we plan for the future on section numbers of classrooms, facilities. Again, my recommendation would be to plan around, based on our history, based on enrollment projections, my recommendation would be to plan around 7 sections in K-2, based on the research, based on our numbers, 6 sections in grades 3 to 5, based on the research, based on the numbers, in 2 attendance centers, in 1 or 2 attendance centers.
Financially, given the last meeting that we have, how do we do it? We were at $10,000 per student. The state's saying here's $8,000 per student. We said last time we need to be cutting. Yes, I want classroom sizes of 13, 15. But
Well, I think
math, I can't afford it.
you're gonna if you know, I again, based on the research, based on our numbers, that would be my recommendation. If significant reductions come at some point, you're going to have to look comprehensively at the entire program and a program in its entirety, from K-12, the entire program. So budgets and budget reductions are about prioritizing. It's about priorities and how do you best prioritize. Again, I don't have empirical research on all of this. That's a compilation of some of the sums of research, but prioritizing those grade levels K-2. And I don't know, Josh, maybe we get to a point where you've got section sizes that are, where you've got a grade level that's 85 kids, 85, 90 kids. The advantage of being in grade-alike buildings is, well, if you can get 16 kids and you can do that in 6 sections, then it's one of the adjustments you could make.
But is that what we're looking at for right now? Because again, last meeting we said we can't sustain what we're doing for too much longer.
I think it's the first step in the next step of planning. If this is what we would like to see, this is what we would like to give our students, then next steps are, how do we make that possible? What changes are needed to be made to provide these types of numbers with the resource, given the funding that we have?
I think would agree with the board president. I think these numbers are reasonable at this time, but in terms of planning, the board is going to have to look to the future in terms of planning at the number of attendance centers that we operate. And that's going to make a significant difference as well on general fund resources.
Right, so as we went through some of that data, the first thing I wrote down with Josh is facilities, question mark. So we've been through some of the master planning process. What I have pulled up from that is we had kindergarten at 20 max. We're thinking about how many classrooms we're gonna need, and then 20 preferred after that for how many classrooms we're gonna build for facilities. Well, now I think with some of this data, that tells us we need to be prioritizing maybe in more sections, K2, and one less, depending on whatever enrollment is at that time. And this gives us another reason to say, how long do we want to maintain the status quo, and how long can we? So yeah, I brought up a lot of those figures, like you got pulled up right now too, and I don't have the answer for that, but if we could use some of these numbers to help continue to guide us forward, we're going to have to look at attendance centers, or we're going to be making cuts throughout the district elsewhere. I mean, I don't want to make cuts at career tech, special stuff like that. So if we can have some solid data here, I hope in 2-3 years when we do have those, costs, the funding reductions, that we can right size some of the elementaries here.
It goes back to, we don't have a master plan. We've heard some feedback, right? We know that there is a pocket of the community that does prefer neighborhood schools, but we don't have anything, we don't have enough to show us that we can maintain that and give the students the level of equitable, high-level education that we want to give them. So we have to go back and what are our options? 1 attendance center, 2 attendance center, building on, expanding current attendance centers, new construction. What are those different options? How much does that cost? What is the cost of maintaining those long-term? And does that get us to a place where we can sustain these class sizes that we desire for our students?
Would another step be, what is the operational reduction of 2 attendance centers compared to the 4? Because we have the number for 4 right now. But is there any way we can come up with the operational costs, for 2 and see what that saves us?
We have to have an idea of what you're, I assume if you cut attendance centers, you have to add on to the ones that are remaining. Because we don't have space right now. So you have to have the expense of adding on.
But not the construction cost, just the operational cost after the construction.
It's hard to know what an operational cost is without knowing
What you're adding
the
on.
extension is, yeah. Because that's where I'm at too, just class size alone, reduction in attendance centers doesn't improve that. It improves operational costs, sure, but without a plan for how you fit more students and build 2 attendance centers, 1 attendance center to end up with.
That's what I'm trying, that's the very picture I'm trying to paint, is if you want to, if this research means anything, if lower section sizes in grades K to 2 are important, then the only way to achieve that is to have those grade levels together so that they can be spread out across, and you absolutely have to enter into a master plan or planning that accommodates those numbers of classrooms. That's the only way to do it. And I think again, what I've tried to show is that the numbers that we have going forward, predicted numbers, are probably going to be for a while between that 130 to 100 class sizes. And so if you do the division on the section numbers, that's you can get to these numbers, but facilities wise, that's what I'm trying to share is we've got to plan for the future of our facilities, for our kids.
It does go back to how do we attack master facilities, master planning differently? Again, we have more information. What do we do with it this time? How do we move forward with more than one option? But knowing that we are committed, that grade alike, in order to maintain class sizes, even class sizes across, and share resources and leverage those things, we're still going to have to keep those grades together.
I think we need to look at the technology in these classrooms too. The survey said they rate us on a 6 on a scale of 10. But I was reading a survey from California and classroom sizes. And yes, they too said your younger ages need to have smaller classroom sizes because they need more individual attention. And they were saying 15 to 20, with 15 being the target, if you can afford that. And then your older students who are supposed to be, they said, more advanced in self-regulation and cognitive skills, they can be in classroom sizes of 25 to 30, but again, 25 being the target. And then they said the National Education Association also agreed 15 was a good target, and probably 21 for your older ages, 15 for your younger. But they said a lot goes into it. It's not just the ages and the level, the age level, but just subject matter you're teaching, the teaching methods you're using, and the technology plays a big role, depending on how current that is and how adaptive it is for different learning styles. I don't feel our buildings have that technology that we need for this 21st century teaching, so it's something we have to look into. Our buildings themselves, not just how many students are in your classroom.
How does master planning pick back up? We're having this discussion. We have to formulate, in my opinion, again, we have to start formulating something. Just like we did before, and we got the response back and said, we have to formulate something else. So when do we start that something else? How do we start that something else? Does it look the same like it did last time? Do we get more community involvement? Yes, where do we go from here?
I think you have, we talked about it a little bit briefly. How could it look differently? How could we try again?
I do have some thoughts on that, based on what we learned the first time. And these are just my thoughts. But I think if you had a committee of 25 to 30 people, some teachers, some administrators, and a number of parents, other community members, and you had a schedule of X number of meetings. We're going to 5 meetings, 6 meetings, And if we knew that this was the target, this 7 sections, grades K to 2, 6 sections, grades 3 to 5, if we knew that that was the target, and that we wanted to move to 1 or 2 elementary attendance centers and said, everything else is on the table. It's all on the table. But this is what we want to get to. So whatever that might look like, and I'm just throwing this out there. This is not. This is only an example. Let's just say it. It's on the table. You want to take 7th and 8th grade, do an addition out here, and free up space at the middle school. How does that help us get to this right here? And this was just my recommendation. Maybe you have, maybe you have a different recommendation, but it's all on the table. How do we get to this? How does adding on to our largest building, elementary building, Van Allen, and surrounding properties, that kind of thing, how does that help us get to this? What does a renewal of using all space at Central Campus, not moving central office to that space, or using that for learning space up above at the how there? What if that's all classrooms? How many classrooms can we get there? Everything's on the table, and that committee would develop 1, 2, maybe 3 different options, and then we take that to the community, the larger community, hold listening sessions, have people come, get it drawn up, have them come, or get comments on preferred kinds of things, and then with the intention of having a recommendation, either doing another community survey or just taking it to a referendum in November of 26. That was my thought on
And one key
probably
thing-
needs refined a bit.
One key thing on that, I think, not being facilitated by an architect and a construction firm. So having an outside source facilitate that, like.
Or a superintendent. And not
Yes.
being facilitated by the superintendent.
So having an outside group facilitate, like an ADA resource, or there are some other educational resources, but having it be led and us guided through this, a next attempt, not by construction. So not throwing out all of those things. So starting with the different lens, trying to get to the same outcome, but not starting with the dollars and cents, right? We have to end there. We have to make sure it's feasible, but not starting there. Starting at a different place, focusing on the educational piece, having those targets and why our purpose clear, and starting from that place and coming up with some different options. I think back to the AEA facilitated back more than 10 years ago, when we did mission and visioning with the community, and the AEA led that, and it was a large group, and I think that could be a beneficial path to go down.
Would you start with the current leadership team that we have going on our master plan and revamp that?
Well, that was already 25, and we would want to pare that down, obviously.
Definitely more community input.
Yes.
Starting next week.
Sooner rather than later, right? But I don't think we're quite ready for next week, but this is the first cut, so I think we all need to digest that. I think the next conversation would be in August committee meetings to continue the conversation. Is this the direction we might like to look in? And then what does that committee look like? Who can we find to facilitate that? And what can we start? How soon can we start?
something, I'm in favor of doing something like that. We need to continue and keep going when it's appropriate.
Anything else? Otherwise, to be continued. Next conversation will happen at site policy. The last item, superintendent search process. Based on my research, I don't think we want to go after hiring a new superintendent all on our own. There are search firms many places have used. So I would like to propose that we request proposals from 2 different search firms sometime in the next month. So we would adhere to 2 proposals, and then we could vote on which search firm we would like, unless somebody wants to volunteer to head up a superintendent search in all their free time. There are a few openings already in the state. I know Pella has selected, they have a superintendent opening similar to ours, time frame at the end of the current school year, and Fort Madison just had one, and so we're going to look to ask Grindemeyer. They're the ones that have done a lot of searches. Jessica's familiar, she's been through several superintendent searches, so we're gonna ask Grindemeyer for proposal, and then the IASB has a list of others, and we're gonna pick another one that has done searches in Iowa. So we'll be looking to coordinate some schedules to figure out when they can provide us quotes, if that's agreeable to everybody to move forward in that fashion.
What is the general timeline for that, Jessica?
Your firm will provide a timeline, but they'll work with you guys to see how aggressive do you wanna be, or do you wanna, give it more time. It'll be custom to you, but they will have kind of a template of a timeline to go through. You could have someone hired by semester, or you could wait until spring when, openings are, but it's basically just up to the board what you guys want to do.
Obviously, I think those are questions that we can have for them as they're knowledgeable in the different kinds of searches. One thing, I think it would be nice if we had a selection going into prior to certifying budget, so that person, while they wouldn't be active, they would know when they're getting into.
Would you like to have the firms, present their proposals to the board at August, September?
I think in the next 4 weeks, I think would be great.
But I agree with all that. I think we definitely need to use the search firm, and if we could do that by August, 4 weeks would be great.
We'll have many more decisions to make after selecting a search firm. Anything else? You can, the Iowa School Board Association does have a superintendent search toolbox, so there are some resources in there that I've been reading through, and so if you have time or want to, I can share what I've gleaned out of it as well.
So would you like, board members to give me like their top 2, and then I can schedule proposals for the August meeting, or how would you like that?
Do you guys want to look through the search firms, or you're okay with me selecting 2?
I looked at Grunmeyer already, like the one that Pella had listed, because they had a list on their website. And I thought it was very comprehensive. So I definitely want to go with them. I haven't looked at any others.
I'll take a look at it. Okay. I'll send you the list, and then if you have any input of a second one, we can, here in the next week, we can ask for that. All right.
I just wanted to thank John for his
Yeah.
Had a lot going on here lately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now this is, this will be, my 20th year in Mount Pleasant. 10 at one time, 10 at another time, and 20th year as a superintendent. So it's been my honor, my pleasure to serve.
All right, with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:52 p.m.